Tēnā tātou. I've been talking to women in leadership positions in the Salvation Army, trying to get a sense of what leadership looks like for them. And today is a special occasion because I have Adair with me, and she's not from the Salvation Army. She's actually a fairly new reverend in the Presbyterian Church. So hello, and
Hi.
Thank you for doing this.
Kia ora.
You're very brave. So Adair, could you just tell us just a little bit about who you are and what you do?
My name's Adair. I'm married to Eric. I'm mum to 3 adult daughters, 1 son-in-law and 2 pups.
Okay.
I'm in a shared minister role with my husband Eric, minister here at Norton Community Church and also church planting in northwest Hamilton.
Okay. So how long have you been a minister for?
All of 2 years.
2 years, so it is pretty new.
Yep, real newbie.
So what did you do before you were a minister?
I trained as a nurse way back in the day before going on to train for cross-cultural mission work.
Okay.
We lived and served in the Middle East for about 10 years. And then on our return to New Zealand late 2013, I just picked up some part-time work and resumed my theological studies with a sense that God was leading me into local church leadership.
So that's still quite a change, even though you're working perhaps in church circles. How did you actually get from doing that to being a minister?
Yeah, well, I guess I've always felt a bit of a pull towards leadership and influence, and maybe that's just because I'm an eldest child, but that may be a factor, but I'd like to believe that it's also about, the gifts and the call of God. Even with this long-standing sense of being drawn and evidence of a certain capacity for leadership, I've actually really struggled to find my confidence. Part of that, I think, is temperamental, like my temperament. Part of it's a bit of kind of woundedness probably thrown in there. It's also been about my not quite feeling like I fit the mould for leadership. The high capacity, highly capable, the extroverted persona of many leaders. So I've wrestled a lot with self-doubt, and that's still a place of vulnerability for me. So I guess this journey into leadership for me has become a lot about living into the realities of who I am, my vulnerability, my limits. And I guess one of the things that kind of, caused a hesitancy for me in the journey towards leadership was to look at others and feel like I could never do what they could do. I couldn't be what they could be. They just seem to do all this amazing stuff without even breaking a sweat. And so that's meant for me that I really want other people to know that everything I do doesn't necessarily come easily to me. I want for others to see the accessibility of leadership and the reality of my own imperfections and struggles. I'm often anxious and overwhelmed, frequently feel like I don't know what I'm doing.
Are you feeling okay now, though?
I'm doing all right.
Oh, good.
For the moment, yeah.
That's good. Carry on, you're doing well.
But, recognising that those realities, and they are real, they don't eclipse the gifts or the call of God. But it's a daily thing I have to lean into. It's not like a battle.
It hasn't magically gone away.
No, it hasn't. Just I believe God, and it's all over. It's an ongoing thing. So, one book that I have really appreciated was Strengthening the Soul of Your Leadership by Ruth Haley Barton, and it's lived with me. One of the things she said, the greatest thing you give to the people you lead, whether that be in church or in another context, I suppose, is your own transforming self. Okay. So that means that the integrity and effectiveness of my leadership is inextricably tied to the state of my own soul, what's happening in me. So I bring, my whole self to the role and trust that God is bigger than the things that I perceive are obstacles or deal breakers. I guess it's also a bit about perceiving that the things that make my leadership different to others are maybe not why I shouldn't be a leader, but maybe why I should.
It takes all different kinds of leaders.
So my difference, even the things that I perceive as weaknesses or things that make me less than, are perhaps precisely what God wants to use in
His upside down world.
And this great thing that's the church, all of us together, differently gifted, trusting in the power and purposes of God to work something beautiful and effective for His kingdom. So, and that beautiful soup of of the goodness of God and this journey of transformation. Yeah.
That's cool. I think when you're talking about just not feeling so confident, the self-doubt, I think there's a lot of people watching who are going to go, yeah, I get that. That's real for a lot of women especially.
Yeah.
So thank you for your honesty. Now, you mentioned one book in there. There's another book I've heard you talk about. What was that other one?
Well, it's interesting you say we don't realise that other people struggle with confidence. We imagine that everybody else is doing this easily. And somehow, in the grace of God, I stumbled across an excellent book called The Vulnerable Pastor by a woman called Mandy Smith. And I just saw it and thought, oh, that's going to... And it spoke to me so brilliantly. She's an Australian minister, but she spent a lot of her time actually in the States. I think she's now back in Australia. But just this beautiful honesty of her journey. She found herself likewise. She was at, I think, a big leadership conference in the States and found herself back in her hotel room just sobbing and sobbing and sobbing and sobbing, thinking if that's what church leadership looks like, I can't do it. And so began her journey and then her writing this book, and I would just recommend it to everyone, particularly people with similar weaknesses, but I think it's got tremendous things to say to all of us.
Awesome. Can you tell us, on this journey to becoming a minister, as you're going through your training and having to work on some of those things, has there been a key person that's helped shape the way that you lead?
Yeah. I mean, I'm incredibly grateful that in my internship with the Presbyterian Church, which is a 2-year period of working alongside a minister in a church, I was placed alongside a minister who was really different to me. I think I wasn't so sure about that sort of situation to begin with, but it didn't take me very long before I came to appreciate what a gift that relationship was. My background is evangelical, but my mentoring minister would have come to faith in a more liberal context. I think both of us have probably moved somewhat from those roots, but we've both been very differently kind of culturally formed, if you like. And we had different theological convictions about some key issues. But the thing was that she created this most amazing environment for me to learn and grow. I don't think I've ever felt so free in a relationship to be me. Wonderful. And to be able to disagree with this person across from me without any sense of that being an unsafe thing to do. But I think the thing I felt most keenly was the complete absence of an agenda for me on her part. She was just really open to whatever God was doing to lead to my own kind of flourishing and wholeness and effectiveness in ministry. It was amazing and very, very healing. And I just hope get to be like her when I grow up.
That is a reminder, isn't it? And it's so easy to think, well, everyone should do it like me. But to give people the space to do it in the way that is them, she must have been a real gift to you. So I know there'll be people out there who relate to some of those things that you said. Would you like to just finish this off with a little word of encouragement to anyone who might be thinking, no, I couldn't do that, it's not me?
I think I would encourage trust God in you. I think, the church says trust God, and the world says trust yourself. And I think it's both. It really is both. I think, trusting God isn't detached from who and how He's made each of us to be, and we don't need to reject ourselves in order to trust God. I believe it's about honouring and worshipping God in the truth of who we are. He's not interested in making us someone else so we can serve Him, but to use this person right here, this body, this real woman that I am. And I think we can trust Him with us in the journey, or this journey of transformation that we're on is the gift that we will bring into leadership.
A journey of transformation. I like that. We're continually on that, aren't we? It's not going to stop till heaven.
No. Not rolling my eyes.
No, thank you so much for that. I'm sure that people will find that really helpful. Thank you for being so honest and your sharing and your time today. Thank you all for watching. I hope this is an encouragement for you that you can be the person that God has made you to be and trust Him.